Reading through the Bible in 1 year, June 29th, Joshua chapter 1, Psalms 120 through 122, Isaiah 61, and Matthew chapter 9. And again, as we are at the beginning of a new book, we're going to read through the introduction. The 5 books of Moses anticipated the fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham regarding the Promised Land. Now, either about 1400 or 1220 BC, through a string of military victories under Joshua, Israel conquered the land and divided it among the 12 tribes. In these battles, it became evident that God fights for his people when they are strong and courageous. Remember, we talked about that in the last book, at the last 3 or 4 chapters of Deuteronomy. This is the same underlying theme that we're going to see throughout Joshua. When the people are strong and courageous and put their full trust in God. At the close of the book, Joshua charged the people to remain faithful to God and to obey his commands, and the people agreed to do so. As for me and my house, says Joshua, we will serve the Lord. Chapter 24, verse 15. Although anonymous, the book appears to contain eyewitness testimony, some of which may have been written by Joshua himself. Let's begin. Now, it came about, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, that the Lord spoke to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' servant, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, cross this Jordan, you and all this people, to the land which I am giving to them, to the sons of Israel. Every place on which the sole of your foot treads, I have given it to you, just as I spoke to Moses. From the wilderness and this Lebanon, even as far as the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and as far as the great sea toward the setting of the sun, will be your territory. No man shall be able to stand before you all the days of your life. Just as I have spoken, just as I have been with Moses, I will be with you. I will not fail you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, for you shall give this people possession of the land which I swore to their fathers to give them. Only be strong and very courageous. Be careful to do according to all the law which Moses, my servant, commanded you, and do not turn from it to the right or to the left, so that you may have success wherever you go. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have success. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not tremble nor be dismayed, rather, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Then Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, Pass through the midst of the camp, and command the people, saying, Prepare provisions for yourselves. For within 3 days you are to cross this Jordan, to go in to possess the land which the Lord your God is giving you to possess it. To the Reubenites and to the Gadites and to the half-tribe of Manasseh, Joshua said, Remember the word which Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, saying, The Lord your God gives you rest, and will give you this land. Your wives, your little ones, and your cattle shall remain in the land which Moses gave you beyond the Jordan. But you shall cross before your brothers in battle array, all your valiant warriors, and shall help them, until the Lord gives your brothers rest, as he gives you. And they also possess the land which the Lord your God is giving them. Then you shall return to your own land, and possess that which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you beyond the Jordan toward the sunrise. They answered Joshua, saying, All that you have commanded us we will do, and wherever you send us we will go. Just as we obeyed Moses in all things, so we will obey you. Only may the Lord your God be with you, as he was with Moses. Anyone who rebels against your command and does not obey your words in all that you command, or all that you command him, shall be put to death. Only be strong and courageous. Let's go on to Psalms 120 through 122. Psalm 120. In my trouble I cried to the Lord, and he answered me. Deliver my soul, O Lord, from lying lips, from a deceitful tongue. What shall be given to you, and what more shall be done to you, you deceitful tongue? Sharp arrows of the warrior, with the burning coals of the broom tree. Woe is me, for I sojourn in Meshech, for I dwell among the tents of Kedar. Too long has my soul had its dwelling with those who hate peace. I am for peace, but when I speak, they're for war. Psalm 121. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not allow your foot to slip. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun will not smite you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will protect you from all evil. He will keep your soul. The Lord will guard your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. Psalm 122. I was glad when they said to me, "Let us go to the house of the Lord." Our feet are standing within your gates, O Jerusalem, Jerusalem that is built as a city that is compact together, to which the tribes go up, even the tribes of the Lord, an ordinance for Israel, to give thanks to the name of the Lord. For there thrones were set for judgment, the thrones of the house of David. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love you. May peace be within your walls, and prosperity within your palaces. For the sake of my brothers and my friends, I will now say, may peace be within you. For the sake of the house of God, for the sake of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your good. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 61. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the afflicted. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to captives and freedom to prisoners, to proclaim the favorable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to grant those who mourn in Zion, giving them a garland instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, the mantle of praise instead of a spirit of fainting, so they will be called oaks of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified. They will build the ancient ruins. They will raise up the former devastations, and they will repair the ruined cities, the desolations of many generations. Strangers will stand and pasture your flocks, and foreigners will be your farmers and your vine dressers. But you will be called the priests of the Lord. You will be spoken of as ministers of our God. You will eat the wealth of nations, and in their riches you will boast. Instead of your shame, you will have a double portion. Instead of humiliation, they will shout for joy over their portion. Therefore they will possess a double portion in their land. Everlasting joy will be theirs, for I, the Lord, love justice. I hate robbery in the burnt offering, and I will faithfully give them their recompense, and make an everlasting covenant with them. Then their offspring will be known among the nations, and their descendants in the midst of the peoples. All who see them will recognize them, because they are the offspring whom the Lord has blessed. I will rejoice greatly in the Lord. My soul will exult in my God, for he has clothed me with garments of salvation. He has wrapped me with a robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decks himself with a garland, and as a bride adorns herself with jewels. As for the earth brings as the earth brings forth its sprouts, and as a garden causes the things sown in it to spring up, so the Lord will cause will cause righteousness and praise to spring up before all the nations. Let's move on to Matthew chapter 9. Getting into a boat, Jesus crossed over the sea and came to his own city. And they brought him in, and they brought to him a paralytic lying on a bed. Seeing their faith, Jesus said to the paralytic, this is the guy who came in through the ceiling, "Take courage, son. Your sins are forgiven." Some of the scribes said to themselves, "This fellow blasphemes." And Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said, "Why are you thinking evil in your hearts? Which is easier to say, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Get up and walk'?" Saying that they can't say either of those things. Well, they could say it, but it won't mean anything. "But so that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins," because if he can do this, he could do the other. Then he said to the paralytic, "Get up. Pick up your bed and go home." And he got up and went home. But the crowd saw this, and they were awestruck and glorified God, who had given such authority to men. Jesus went on from there. He saw a man called Matthew sitting at a tax collector's booth, and he said, "Follow me." And he got up and followed him. Then it happened that as Jesus was reclining at table in the house, behold, many tax collectors and sinners came and were dining with Jesus and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, "Why is your teacher eating with tax collectors and sinners?" But when Jesus heard this, he said, "It is not those who are healthy who need a physician, but those who are sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire compassion and not sacrifice. For I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners." Then the disciples of John came to him, asking, "Why do we and the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast?" And Jesus said to them, "The attendants of the bridegroom cannot mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them, can they? But the days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast. But no one puts a patch of unshrunk cloth on an old garment, for the patch pulls away from the garment, and a worse tear results. Nor do people put new wine into old wineskins, otherwise the wineskins burst, and the wine pours out, and the wineskins are ruined. But they put new wine into fresh wineskins, and both are preserved." This is confusing. I'll make it clear. Both of these are talking about the same thing: the unshrunk cloth and the wine into the new wineskin. When you have a piece of unshrunk cloth that you sew onto a patch, as a patch into your clothing, the unshrunk cloth will shrink itself and pull itself away from the actual seasoned cloth. In the same way that with wine, they had these wineskins that were literally animal skins. And when the wineskin itself is fresh, it still is pliable. It can still stretch and grow. So they put wine into it, which as it ferments, it stretches out the wineskin itself. Well, the wineskin eventually dries and it keeps its shape. So if you take new wine that hasn't yet fermented and put it into this old wineskin, as it stretches out, it'll burst the skin and destroy it. The point that Jesus is making is that what he is bringing is something new, something different, something that has different rules than the rules that they've had before. You can't just do as many of the evangelists did as they spread throughout the nations, where they just took the beliefs of the other local gods and just kind of incorporated that in and made kind of a pagan light religion, right? That's where we get things like the Yule log from. That's a pagan ritual. Or where we get the St. Patrick and the clover that he was using. That is another pagan thing that he brought in to kind of make sense of it for them. That's also how we get All Hallows Eve and a lot of other days. The point being made is that Jesus is incorporating something new, which is different from everything else. And if you try to incorporate it into that which you already have, you'll destroy them both. Let this stand as a new thing. Let this stand as a different thing, where fasting is not necessary. Let's go on. While he was saying these things to them, a synagogue official came and bowed down before him and said, "My daughter has just died. But come and lay your hand on her and she will live." Again, this is a lot of faith that he has. So Jesus got up and began to follow him, and so did his disciples. And a woman who had been suffering from a hemorrhage for 12 years came up behind him and touched the fringe of his cloak. For she was saying to herself, "If I only touch his garment, I will get well." Again, so much faith. But Jesus, turning and seeing her, said, "Daughter, take courage. Your faith has made you well." And at once the woman was made well. When Jesus came to the official's house, he saw the flute players and the crowd in noisy disorder. These are people who are professional mourners, who are typically brought in to mourn. And he said, "Leave, for the girl has not died, but is asleep." Well, they began laughing at him. Again, these are professional mourners. They've seen dead people before. But when the crowd had been sent out, he entered and took her by the hand, and the girl got up. Well, news spread throughout all that land, and Jesus went on from there, and 2 blind men followed him, crying out, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." When he entered the house, the blind men came up to him, and Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" And they said to him, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "It shall be done to you according to your faith." And their eyes were opened, and Jesus again sternly warned them, "See that no one knows about this." But they went out and spread the news about him throughout all that land. As they were going out, a mute, demon-possessed man was brought to him. After the demon was cast out, the mute man spoke, and the crowds were amazed and were saying, "Nothing like this has ever been seen in Israel." But the Pharisees were saying, "He casts out demons by the ruler of demons." Basically saying that he's in league with the demons, therefore they're just leaving because they agree with what he's doing. Jesus was going throughout all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every kind of disease and every kind of sickness. Seeing the people, he felt compassion for them. This is going to get real messy here for a second. I got to scroll through this because there's a bunch of stuff that didn't come up. Again, if you missed any of these, just pause it and you can read it. Here we go. Yep. So seeing the people, Jesus felt compassion for them because they were distressed and dispirited, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Therefore, beseech the Lord of the harvest to send out workers into his harvest." And that's all the notes. All right, we will be back tomorrow. Behold the word of the Lord.